For centuries, Switzerland sold the world an image of neutrality, a small, mountainous country that didn't pick sides, didn't engage in conflicts, and kept its head down while empires rose and fell. But that's only half the story. The real Swiss miracle wasn't just neutrality, it was discretion. Switzerland built an empire of a different kind, one made not of forces and colonies, but of vaults and ledgers. And in those vaults, hidden behind layers of stone, steel, and silence, lay the financial records of leaders, massive corporations, and figures operating in the gray zones of the economy. Let's start with the foundation. In 1713, Geneva's Great Council passed rules forbidding bankers from revealing details about their clients. That early seed of privacy was planted long before Switzerland became the fortress of finance we know today. But the decisive moment came in 1934, when the Swiss banking law made it a strict offense to disclose client information. Violating bank confidentiality wasn't just bad practice, it was punishable by law. Privacy had become a product, protected by statutes, and marketed to the world. This law came at a very convenient time. Europe in the 1930s was sliding toward turmoil. Persecuted groups, fleeing the regime in Germany, tried to secure their assets. Corporations shifted capital abroad, and Switzerland, officially neutral and politically detached, became the perfect vault. The country's stance wasn't passive, it was profitable. By refusing to align with one side, Switzerland could accept deposits from all sides. The global conflict of the 1940s was the moment when Swiss banking privacy became both infamous and indispensable. Assets from the war, some acquired from occupied nations, some from the seized belongings of displaced populations, found their way into Swiss vaults. At the same time, Allied governments used Swiss banks to move funds discreetly. Corporations on both sides parked assets there, confident they would survive the chaos. Switzerland didn't participate in the conflict, but its financial sector certainly grew from it. After 1945, when Europe was rebuilding, the legend of the Swiss account exploded. For the global elite, it meant security. Security from seizure, safety from fiscal policies back home, safety from the scrutiny of authorities. To have money in Switzerland was to have it untouchable, invisible, beyond reach. The vaults in Zurich and Geneva became symbols of stability. But privacy is never just about protecting wealth. It's about protecting leverage. Over the second half of the 20th century, Swiss banks became the preferred location for the fortunes of autocratic leaders. Figures from the Philippines, Zaire, and Haiti used Swiss accounts to keep their accumulated wealth safe. While their nations struggled during the Cold War, discretion took on a new dimension. Intelligence agencies from both East and West needed neutral channels to move operational funds. Swiss banks were ideal. They didn't ask questions. They didn't disclose. Capital could cross borders silently, funding operations that never showed up in official budgets. By the 1980s and 90s, the Swiss account was a staple in pop culture. Movies showed antagonists with them. Politicians spoke about them. Everyone knew the phrase, but few knew what it really meant. A Swiss account wasn't just a vault filled with gold. It was an ecosystem of legal advisors, holding companies, and numbered accounts designed to shield the owner's identity. The numbered account was iconic. No names, just digits and deposits. But with great secrecy comes inevitable scrutiny. By the 1990s, pressure began to mount. Families of war victims demanded answers about assets seized during the 1940s investigations, revealed that some institutions had profited by delaying efforts to return funds. Suddenly, Swiss neutrality looked less like virtue and more like compliance. At the same time, governments facing rising deficits started to lose patience with the revenue losses created by offshore privacy. In the United States, the turning point came in 2008, when authorities investigated UBS. The case exposed how bankers had actively helped wealthy individuals shield assets. Under threat of legal action, the bank agreed to disclose client names, challenging the myth that Swiss privacy was absolute. That was the first real change. In the years that followed, international regulations like FATCA forced Switzerland into compliance, requiring banks to report foreign clients' holdings. For the first time in centuries, Swiss privacy was no longer absolute. But don't mistake regulations for a full stop. The vault didn't disappear, it evolved. The smartest capital didn't vanish. It migrated. Instead of simple numbered accounts, Wealth was funneled into complex offshore structures. Entities in the British Virgin Islands, trusts in Panama, layered corporations in Liechtenstein. Leaks like the Panama Papers only confirmed what insiders already knew. Privacy didn't end in Switzerland. It globalized. The Swiss banks adapted, becoming nodes in a larger network of private finance. The irony is inescapable. Swiss banks built their fortune on an image of neutrality, but that neutrality always had a price tag. They were neutral in the business sense. They would serve anyone, take any deposit, manage any fortune, as long as the fees cleared. Their only allegiance was to the client's privacy. So where does that leave us today? The myth of the impenetrable Swiss vault may have faded, but the core lesson of banking privacy still defines our financial world. Wealth has learned to obscure itself. It no longer sits in simple accounts. It flows through holding companies and trusts that keep ownership unclear. The privacy has gone digital and global. The beneficiaries are easy to identify. Elites, billionaires, and corporations, using these structures to shield profits. And the costs, they land on ordinary people. When elites shield capital, governments lose revenue. That has to be replaced with higher contributions from workers, or with more debt. The financial privacy perfected in Swiss vaults is not just a tool for the rich. It is a transfer of burden. The game didn't stop. It evolved, fueled by the same principle. Capital and influence crave invisibility. The Swiss didn't invent privacy. They perfected it. They turned silence into a commodity. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.